Good morning. Good morning, Trevor, Jerry, Anna, Randy, Kayla. Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? It's another beautiful day out there. We are ready to rock. What's today? Today's Thursday. So I'm not going to read the quote instantly. some of the times that I come up with things, like I have people that call and like, dude, how you guys coming up with topics every single morning? And really, sometimes it's inspired by the quote. Sometimes it's inspired by what I hear that day on a podcast or a TED Talk or on something else I listen to on YouTube. But a lot of the time, morning, Amy and Jim, a lot of the time, what I talk about is what I saw within the group yesterday. Okay? Like a lot of the time, I might push it off a day, you know what I mean, and put it in the topic for the next. But a lot of the time, when we talk about something, it's something that I'm seeing people deal with here. To me, that's as organic as it can be, so that people can grow and deal with real life issues, right? So I want to talk about yesterday. Yesterday, I saw a few things, and that need discussed. We're not going to go into individual like opinions and what happened and things like that. I'm just going to give an overview of the things I thought I saw yesterday, and then we're going to talk about this quote because they tie together so well. So yesterday I heard that conflict is hard. You know, yesterday morning we talked about conflict, right? During our breakfast, and like addressing people within the workplace can be difficult because you're concerned with how people feel. But when we point out that if we are talking about that person or about those people behind their back in a negative way, the conflict should have happened to be an upfront and honest person. You know what I'm saying? People in today's society, they're really, really, really great at yapping their mouth behind closed doors and talking about people behind their back and not thinking that there's anything wrong with that. And I think that's disgusting. I think that's horrible. I think that's gossip. I think that's crap. I think that's bullshit. If you have something to say about somebody, it should be directly to their face. Or in the professional area, it should be via email or text so that it's documented on the things that need improvement for us to work together in a healthy manner. But we don't like that. A lot of people don't like that. They'd rather talk behind somebody's back and tell everybody how horrible they are at their job than going to the person and saying, hey, this is what I see wrong with our communication, with what we're doing, with our planning, with our scheduling. And to me, that's the most hurtful thing you can do. You know, healthy conflict is such a necessary part of growth in life, and people forget that. So we as a group, what I see is that we struggle to be accountable. We struggle to be accountable to our words, to our peers, to our employers sometimes, and that's a hard part for not just in here. This is a societal thing. Like everybody wants to be stuck on like, well, I don't like conflict, but yet you like talking about that person behind their back. So you like the conflict, you just don't like to own your part, or you don't like to own what you can fix and what you can't. You have something to say, Gary?
But what kind of work relationship are you having if you don't approach the person, you know, that has the problem or you think has the problem?
Absolutely. You don't have any what type of work relationship? What type of relationship is it? If I know that I've been in relationships where I have stifled things in my past. Believe it or not, I used to be a guy that would stifle things.
No way.
Not many, but when I do, I don't feel good inside. It's like cancer eating at me. So I'm a guy that, as you all know, I say everything that's in there. And because I owe it to you to tell you the truth. That's the most loving thing I can do, man. Like I can't love you any more than to tell you the truth, even if it's conflicting, even if it may hurt your feelings at the time. Because if it allows us to come closer and allows us to be a better team and allows us to be a closer family and allows us to move forward in a different way, well, then it was all for good. And that's what conflict here is about. You know, and what we are really good at a lot of times is pointing the finger at what people are doing wrong, but yet we don't want to look at our own part. We don't want to look at what we're doing wrong or a lot of times, I'll tell you, like, this is big. Like, people out there have a way bigger expectation of others than they do self. Like, that's across the board. Like, we're really good at saying, well, this person should be doing this, and this. But do you write down every day at the end of your day or on a weekly basis what you feel you're doing wrong? Like, this whole thing for me is about, I own 150% of my life. And I say 50% because I try to figure out what I can own that isn't mine. Because if I don't go at life like that, if I don't hit life head on with, I'm going to own every part of every situation I'm in, I'm done. I have nothing. Like, I know what I become. Like, that's what I mean by done when I say that. I know who I become when I don't own everything. I know exactly who I become. I become a victim. And then look out. Like, when I get in that victim role and when I sit in that victim seat, right? Oh my gosh, man, I am going to destroy you. Because if I'm the victim, you're the villain. Somebody's the villain, and I gotta get even. I gotta get ahead, and I go start going through all these things, and that's just not healthy. So I tell the truth. So I own every part of my life, even if it's not for me to own. I got to figure out how to own it. Like, and that's really hard for people. Like, we have all these protocols and these systems here in place in our organization, and we just decide not to follow them. You know, and I see that within the group. Like, we talk about systems, we write down systems, we have meetings about them, and then all of a sudden we say, okay, we're not doing that anymore because we don't like it, or we just don't want to, or we forget, and what it is to me is just this ability to shut down accountability. It's much easier just to focus on everybody else. So part of growing up, part of being a grown-up, part of being a man here is dealing with conflict, right? So our perception of conflict is a little bit deeper, right? We have to have a different perception of conflict, and that really, for me, decides a lot. You know, my perception of conflict is going to decide whether I grow or change. And I'll tell you, if I'm not growing, y'all, and I'm a big one for this, and this doesn't mean that I'm constantly grinding or chasing something or never stopping, because I have that trouble. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about any type of growth. Growth can happen in anything. It can happen mind, body, spirit, career, financial. I'm talking spiritual growth takes sitting down, slowing down, right? Mind growth at times takes slowing down, sitting down, like stopping, being able to relax. In all those ways, if you aren't looking within at the conflict within you, there is no growth. There's none. If you're not using your head and your mind to figure out what you're doing and the conflict within yourself to move forward, and you're spending all your time trying to figure out who to blame and whose fault it is, and like this hyper focus of somebody else, you're screwed. Because without growth, there's death. That's what it is for me. There is no coast. There is no coast. Life is an uphill. You're in a kayak and you're fighting current. There is never a coasting time for me. There can't be, because I know what I become. And that's a really hard pill for people to swallow. That life's this little bit of this uphill climb, right? This journey of dealing with some really tough, like, current at times, some rapids coming in your face at times. But I don't know that you're ever able to stop paddling. That doesn't mean that you don't sit and rest.
You got to keep the momentum going.
That's it. And if you don't, and when you start to coast, now you got to work harder to get back to where you were. And it's really tough. People don't want to accept that. And I know some of you in here don't want to accept that. You just don't.
Well, it's like my idea of life in the past was that I was just supposed to reach this point to where it was easy.
Right.
Where life was just easy and things are figured out and stuff like that. And it's never going to be that.
No, and that's what my next part that I wrote down is. Yesterday I also saw a struggle of being accountable and taking on responsibilities without resistance. Like, some of us in here have had, and this is going to maybe tweak some nerves, has had somebody in their life that handled all their shit to the point where they could just shut it down. And I'm telling you, when when people ask me, what's the issue? What's the real issue with the addiction? I'm like, it's not the substance. It's a lot of parenting. It's a lot of people who we surround ourselves. It's a lot of the system making things easy on us. Like when we can just slough off all our responsibilities on someone else, or somebody else handles our crap for us all the time, we practice that and we get really good at just turning everything off. Because when you don't use this thing, you're done. When you don't practice these things and you don't have to, why do it? That's the attitude. So we shut it down, and that goes with so much with today's quote. It says, the snake which cannot cast its skin has to die. Think about that. The snake which cannot cast its skin has to die. As well, the minds which are prevented from changing their opinions, they cease to be mind. What's that saying? Does anybody know? Because I love it. I absolutely love it.
Without changing your mindset, you're going to fail. You're not going to go anywhere. It's just a constant evolution of
that's it.
Self.
But if you don't change your mind, it's not a mind. That's what it's saying. It's flat out telling you that a mind that won't or can't change is not a mind.
You become a puppet.
That's it, man. If you don't use it, it dies. If you're not pushing forward and changing and using your imagination and changing your perception and thinking through self in here, you're done. It's not a mind anymore. You're just, like you said, a puppet. Like you're just there. And that's, you guys got to see this. Like you got to feel this. Like people out there that want change. If this is reaching any person that's the early recovery and wondering what's going on with life, like if you're not going for it, if you're not handling it, if you're not handling all your business and somebody's doing it for you, you're done. And I'm talking about everything. I have never seen a person with a mom, dad, uncle, grandmother, sister, brother that handles all their shit for them grow. They don't have to. And I'm tired of dealing with it like with people. Like it's just this thing where I'm really aggressive on. Like we gotta allow people to go through their shit. We got to allow them to deal with life. Stop doing it for them. And stop blaming everybody else. We got to get out of this blame world. Like, it's this whole thing with accountability. We don't like conflict. Bull. You don't like accountability. You don't want to raise the level of accountability for yourself and for your surroundings, because then you're going to have to step up on a daily basis. But that's the point of life. That's the great part of the journey. This isn't supposed to be easy. And let me tell you, like when you look at our life compared to in this country, compared to the like 90, I think 2% of the rest of the earth, it is easy here. It is easy to get to go to work every day, to get to go learn, to get to help other people, to get to be accountable, to the opportunity to get in a car, to have a home, to pay bills, to be responsible. Like we gotta start using our imaginations. We gotta start failing. We gotta hear different perspectives. Like all that stuff allows us, that we allow ourselves to go through, builds confidence so that you can evaluate within what we got going on here to grow. That's it. Like this quote was so perfect today. The snake which cannot cast its skin has to die. Now, we have reptiles here. When do they shed their skin?
When they need to grow.
Mm-hmm. After they've eaten a bunch, they got to shed that skin, and then they're going to do it again. After eating and growing and changing and evolving, they shed. But man, for some reason, a lot of our society just wants to sit still. Let me figure out the easiest way. And man, easy never got me anywhere. Never got me anywhere. That's my battle. Like I have to. So my battles when I look within of change and growth are not grinding anymore. It's figuring out how to make the time. Not that I don't have it. Is to take the time for taking care of me instead of trying to help everybody else. But that's growth for me. That's going to be change for me. Right? So are you guys looking within? Are you guys willing to grow, to shed that skin? I think everybody's silent here today, y'all on Facebook. Like I'm getting everybody staring at me, but they're like, "Oh shit, I ain't saying nothing. I'm not saying a word." What are you thinking over there, Devin?
I'm thinking sometimes I don't like to shed my skin.
Right on, right on. But why?
So
In reality.
Well, sometimes I like to, and the times that I usually don't like to is the ones I know it's going to be a little difficult. Or I'm still hanging on to something I want to keep.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. But maybe you
And
didn't
it's
have
usually
to.
because I'm afraid to just try anyway. So it's really just fear-based.
Mm-hmm.
Because at least with I know that if I do it this way or hang on to this little piece of it, I at least know I have some sort of control in that situation to like know where I can always go to or always do or be that person.
Yeah, I heard 2 words: fear and control.
Yeah.
And how is that? How's that going for you?
It usually doesn't work out too well.
How much control did you have in county? Not a
None.
lot. Not
None.
a lot. So
None.
there you go. Like that's the truth of it. That's the great part of these conversations. Like we get to see like the difference, man. The difference in you now to then. Like there is no control in there, right? You don't get to leave.
I thought I had control.
Yeah.
Because I was able to, because you knew the rules, you could break and stuff. But in reality,
You
I was
don't
like,
get to leave.
Yeah, I had no control.
Like you don't get to hang out with people. You don't get to go to work. You don't get to do all these things, right? But we have these forgetters, man. We have these huge forgetters that we just forget where we come from and what it was like when we were doing what we were, when fear and control were running our lives. And this goes to the parents out there, you know, and everybody in here. Like anything that's fear-based is about you. Like let people deal with conflict. Let them fight through their issues. Let them surrender to their issues. Like there's this fight and surrender throughout the process, isn't there? We talk about it all the time. Sometimes you got to fight. Sometimes you got to surrender your will. Like it's just this battle. But man, if we don't take it all in, if we don't look in the mirror and say, all right, all this is on you. I have never gotten anywhere comparing or blaming. And comparisons, right, Jake? Comparisons can crush us. You talked about that yesterday. You started to compare a little bit, right? And look what's, whoa, what am I doing here? Like comparisons and blame is absolute loser behavior.
Well, I remember you used to say compare to not compare. Like compare yourself to where you were, but don't compare yourself to other people.
That's right. Anytime we're comparing out and not within, like you got to give yourself credit. Like some of you forget also where you were and where you are now, which is really, really, really important. Like that, you have to give yourself credit for that. Right? You got to look at the positive of where you were and where you are now. But when you start looking at everybody else's life, tell me one time in your life where comparing to what somebody else had or how they were or what they looked like helped you. Has it ever happened?
Well, no, it hasn't. But it's like also it's a false thought to try and make you. It's almost like an evil thought that comes to your head to try and change the path that you're on.
Right.
You know, like to try and control you, to have control over you, to like make you think you're not doing enough or you should get more, or you don't have enough.
Comparisons kill.
Yep.
That's the biggest statement for me. Comparisons kill. And it's just this behavior that so many do. Like, look at Facebook. Look at Facebook filters. Do you know how many poor kids out there and women, you know, especially little girls and that have moms that are teaching them and that their look is most important? That goes on every single day with kids. It's about comparing to this person. And they go on Facebook and scroll and they see the next kid that's 13. Well, look at her and look at how she looks and look at this filter and look at me. Like this comparison and blame and focus on everybody else outside is just killing us. It allows us to go to easy. It's the recipe for comparison, and blame is just an easy way to deny the truth.
You get made fun of too
What's that?
if you compare yourself.
Mike Gary.
Like you get made fun of if you compare yourself to others and you're not as good as they are. Like I always worried about those guys making fun of me.
Yep. It's never helpful. Giving a crap about what everybody else thinks. Man, I gotta care what I think, and if I am really being the person that I say I want to be, and I know I'll never reach that. I know I won't, because I know how I am. I'm gonna continue to chase who I want to be, for the rest of my life. But I'm going to grow from that. I'm going to shed my skin from that. I'm going to continue to change and evolve and use my brain and use my mind and do the best I can do to continue.
So
That's the journey.
the people that usually are making fun of others, like Gary said, are usually hurting themselves, or they see something in themselves that they
Well,
like.
they're hurting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. So that's it for me today. I got a little fired up this morning. Why? Because people need to own their life. People need to look in the mirror and self-evaluate and move forward. If you're not growing and changing in some form, that does not mean that you're working more hours during the day. It just means that you're looking in the mirror and being present at times. You know, like my buddy Chris, he's about being present. I love his parts in my life that were, you know, like that's success, that's change, is being present. But if you're not looking within and you're blaming and pointing and you're talking behind people's back and not holding them accountable, like, we got to grow up. Like, we have a society that has to grow up. And the other part is that parents, and if you have kids that are over 18, let them grow up. Let them be a man. Let them learn. Let them fail. Like, get out of the way. Completely get out of the way. And that's what I see. That's what I saw yesterday. And I wanted to share that with you. So, whatever you're doing today, do it with soul. And we all love you. Peace.